I am AARP Minnesota State Director Kathy McClear, and did you know that voters 50 and older are the most powerful voters in America? And voters 50 and older will be the deciders in the 2022 election. And that's why AARP is committed to making sure that voters know how, when, and where to vote this year. So today we're going to be giving you some quick tips from a local elections administrator on how you can vote before Election Day on November 8th. So I also want to remind folks that AARP is a nonpartisan organization, and we do not endorse candidates and we do not contribute to political campaigns. So let's get started. Again, I'm Kathy McClear, the State Director for AARP Minnesota, and I am joined today by Michael Stalberger, a Blue Earth County election administrator, to talk about early voting. So thanks for joining me, Michael.
Hello, good to see you.
Well, as we know, early voting started September 23rd. So Michael, if someone wants to vote early, where do they go to vote?
Sure. Voters are going to have several options available to them, but if they want to go somewhere to vote early, they're going to go to their courthouse or their county offices where their elections officials will be housed. Some counties, that's the county courthouse, and other places, it may be separate buildings.
All right. And if someone does go there to vote early, what kind of documentation do they need?
It really depends on how they are registered or whether or not they're registered. If they're not a registered voter, they need to bring some sort of identification that identifies them as a person, and then also some identification of where they live. So oftentimes that's a driver's license that has a current name and address on it, and that works perfectly. But in other instances, it might be an old driver's license or a photo ID card, and then a utility bill or a bank statement. There's a long list of qualifying documents for Minnesota residents to register.
So if someone does go to vote early in person, how are they going to know that their ballot was counted?
There's a couple of ways they'll know that. So if you're voting early in a courthouse or in an elections office, depending on how quickly you do that in the process, you may be using envelopes. That ballot that is going to go into a secure envelope, and then it'll be processed by a ballot board and tabulated with the results as we get closer to the election day. Additionally, some voters have the ability, if they vote within the last week before the election, so the last 7 days before the election, they may have the ability to actually feed their ballot into a tabulator or a scanner directly and have it tabulate the results on the spot so they can see that their ballot's been accepted.
And when does a ballot need to be received?
Yes, a very good question. So under Minnesota law, in order to vote early, your ballot must be received by the county elections office no later than election day. So that means it needs to come in the mail no later than Tuesday, November 8th, or it can be dropped off by the voter themselves or by another individual. If somebody's dropping off the ballot, we do have some additional times to pay attention to. So we always say that ballot should be back by 3 p.m., even though there are some exceptions to that rule. And if voters have any questions, they should just contact their local elections official.
So if someone votes early, when is their ballot actually counted?
Yeah, really good question. So ballots that are returned via mail are going to be kept secure, and then they're going to be processed by a ballot board, which is made up of election judges who are either volunteering their time or serving in their local communities. And so they'll actually start processing those ballots the 7 days prior to the election. And then those results will all be kept secret. There's no way for anybody to know what those results are until we hit 8:01 on election night. And at that point, then we can start releasing those results with everybody else who's voted in the polling places.
Good to know. And what if someone wants to cast a different vote after they've already put in that ballot?
There's a way to do that in Minnesota. Anybody can do what's called a clawback or kind of rescind their ballot up until the close of business for that local elections office on the 7th day before the election. So that would be November 1st. And so sometimes we see that if somebody's changed their mind, maybe they've done more research and learned more about candidates and they want to change their vote, or maybe they've just decided, that isn't who they wish to vote for. Whatever those reasons are, they go to their local elections office and they have to, of course, identify themselves. And as long as it's prior to that 7th day, they can pull back their ballot and then re-vote a new ballot and leave that with the elections official.
Wow, great information. Thank you so much, Michael. We really appreciate these helpful tips for voters who might want to cast their ballot before November 8th. And for more information on how, when, and where to vote, you can visit aarp.org/MN elections.